created, I really, really liked the trade that I was in. And I think that's why I was so good at it. And I was good with customers. And I actually left that trade for a year before I started the company. And previous customers from the previous employer would still call me all the time. And that's what kind of gave me, and I started having customers, hey, if you come to Houston or you come here, we'll pay you to do whatever it takes to get this thing going. And that's kind of how it happened. Just customers kept calling, and I seen a need for it, and the next thing you knew, we were opening a shop. There was never a big plan in my head of we're going to turn this into this, and we're going to have 20 employees, and it just kind of all came realistically. I just really, really enjoyed it, and I was really good at it, I think, because I enjoyed it.
Welcome, millionaires and future millionaires. You're listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast, a show where you'll hear the stories and interviews of everyday millionaires. We'll unveil their decisions, their strategies, and their portfolio allocation. Now to your host, Jace Mattinson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Millionaires Unveiled podcast. This is episode number 366.
This is the show where we interview everyday millionaires and share their stories. These are our interviews with them, and our only agenda here is to share their stories and their investment strategies and portfolios.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm going to start off with a couple of reviews. Going to start off with ones that came in most recently. One's from Chris the Listener, a fast-paced and informative, excellent podcast that provides insights into the mindsets and actions that led people to their millions. Lots of surprises I have learned. There's no one way to do it. Jace does a great job with questions and exploring deeper into important areas. Love the rapid-fire questions at the end. We also had a few specifically on this last episode that I guess what I would say is we probably need to do a better job of just informing the listeners. We've got a lot of new listeners about the purpose of this podcast. We're going to change a few things in the intro. I'll probably put a disclaimer in there, but a lot of people were upset about his views on mutual funds and index funds and just the stock market in general. And I just want to be crystal clear that this podcast doesn't exist to push one investment class or another or agenda or another. That is not what we do. We interview everyday millionaires and let them share their stories and the way that they've done it. And, and quite frankly, probably 90% of what's on here, I disagree with myself or I don't do myself in one stretch or another. And so, I hope that bias doesn't come through, but we've had a lot of reviews and people have written in lately that were saying that they were irresponsible or this or that. But the bottom line is we don't have an agenda. So I'm not out here to say that the one way one guy did it or the way he has views or gal does it this way or that way, is incorrect because I've been around long enough and done this show long enough and been around many millionaires that I can sit here and tell you that I have friends that are all well into, multimillionaire status, some that are in the 9-figure range that have views that are probably contrary to most. They actually bash index funds. They actually bash, doing anything inside of the stock market. And that is not a popular view I get with the personal finance kind of community and, people chasing FI. But, the guy's worth $100+ million. And I have a few of them actually that are even in that boat that don't believe in that. I have some that believe in only real estate. I have others that believe in only businesses. They don't invest in real estate or the market and are worth several millions of dollars. And quite frankly, some of them are big proponents of some very controversial subjects within the personal finance community, such as life insurance policies and whatnot. And, I've learned a lot from all those guys. Do I agree with all of them and the way they approach it? No. We have a gentleman who's a billionaire in the personal finance space, Dave Ramsey, who is referenced many times on this episode today, actually, who has a very controversial opinion about debt compared to what most people do and what most people have made their money with, whether it's leverage in real estate or leverage in business. And so, I get it. I get what your views are coming from. We've had a lot of those reviews, but I just want to be crystal clear that there is no agenda on this show. I'm not trying to push one investment or another. What we're trying to do is unveil millionaires, let them share their stories, how they've done it, the way that they view it. And it's not by no means an endorsement of anything that they do from us as the host or us as the show. And I will try to make that much more crystal clear between some intro things that we'll do and some disclaimers. But thought I would share that, given some of the reviews that came in and some of the unpopular opinions that may have been shared on some recent episodes.
So with that, I would just say that we generally don't share our opinion on someone's strategy if they say one thing versus another. Part of the show is just asking questions and letting them share their perspectives.
And on that note, today we have Mark. He's got a net worth of $6+ million. He's got an amazing story of building a business, starting a business from scratch, building it, and actually selling it. And yeah, he's got most of his assets and wealth now in real estate after he had the liquidity event. But we talk about all that and how he kind of went from buying a onesie and a twosie to buying a few more. He has no debt. He got on the Dave Ramsey plan and paid off everything. And yeah, he's got a net worth north of $6 million. He's 40 years old. And there might be a few people out there that are bothered that he doesn't quite share as much in detail about his industry, but that was due to some privacy reasons. You can probably kind of figure it out, but it is not crystal clear. And he and I had a conversation. As we do with all, I vet all of our millionaires through a various kind of process. And this is one thing that came up that just given the nature and the sensitivity of his exit, he didn't want to share. And I was okay with that. So wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, would love to see some more millionaires ride in. We've got some slots open. Share your stories in your words without any bias from the host. And without any further delay, let's get in the interview with Chad. Mark, do you want to just give us a lot of your background and what you're up to now?
Oh, a lot of background, I guess, what I'm up to now. Let's see here. Background, grew up on the East Coast. Went to the military at 18, did a few years there, got out of the military, did a skilled trade. Did work for a big distributor in the skilled trade for 6-7 years, and then started a company after that, a year or so later. Worked at that company, bought another company, sold those two companies 12 years later, and now I'm working for the company that bought the companies.
Holy cow, what a story, man. And congrats to you on all the success. That's awesome.
Well,
I'm going to
thank
get a
you.
little bit into your career path and some mindset around that. But before we do, what's your net worth today?
6+ million. It's changed a little bit recently, but
Nice. And how is that broken up?
oh, probably 3/4 real estate and the rest of it cash, IRAs, stocks, stuff like that.
And is the real estate commercial or residential?
Some commercial, and majority of it is residential.
And I guess in the residential, is that single family homes or you have
It's,
multifamily properties?
all of it is single family now, but I am in process. I'm in contract right now with a multi.
Oh, wow. So how many single family homes then?
I think there's seven.
Okay. And
Seven
I'm
single
guessing
family, one commercial.
very little debt.
Zero debt as of today.
Oh, wow. Congrats. That's awesome. So you got
Yep,
7
thank
paid
you.
for house and commercial paid for. What is the commercial? Is that a strip center or single tenant?
A building. Just it's actually two buildings.
Okay.
It's not a strip center, nothing like that. It's one company leases the whole deal.
Okay. Cool. Well, congrats. I guess how did you get to the point where all debt free? Did you buy it all in cash or walk us through that a
No,
little bit?
definitely didn't start there. A lot of loans at first, and then a lot of the real estate came after the sale of the company. Wife put me on the Dave Ramsey plan 4 years ago, I guess, and I jumped in all the way and started paying everything off, and just kind of told myself I probably did not want to be in debt anymore, and just kept doing the real estate there from there with cash.
Wife put you on Dave Ramsey 4.5 years ago, and here you are, sold business, a bunch of paid for real estate, worth $6+ million. Man, you're feeling pretty good, I bet.
Yeah, I had good wife. She was the smart one there.
Good for you, man.
I was the guy that did not need anybody to tell me how to manage my money.
I bet.
I was wrong though.
So, with the sale of a business, I mean, why did you decide to put essentially from that liquidity event a bunch of that back into the real estate asset class?
I like real estate because I can touch it. I can go over there, I can drive by it, I can see it, I can produce income with it, tax advantages, no employees necessarily. I think that was a big thing for me instead of just instantly trying to start another company.
So, did you buy any real estate prior to the sale?
Yes. So we always did a rental here or there. We just didn't have as many as we do today.
Gotcha. So, rewinding a little bit, when you're running your business, walk us through. I mean, business owners always have this dilemma, right? Of, hey, how much do I reinvest in my business for growth and grow that asset and that value and have concentrated net worth into that one asset versus, hey, I'm going to peel some of this off and take some cash out and put it into another asset class, in your case, into some rental real estate. Walk us through your mindset as you were kind of walking that path and walking that line.
Uh, I always invested back into the business, but I definitely pulled out as much as I could to do other deals. The first 8 years of the business, probably just put everything back in. Anything we drew, we necessarily weren't buying houses or anything like that. Probably more living out of the company than investing in other things. And just later on, it just started seeing the real estate side of it. And I knew if I could buy the building, we could be potentially renting from ourselves in a way, rent to the company. So we went that route originally, bought that building, and just always, if we moved, we kept the house as a rental, our personal residence. So we did that, and then we'd keep that rental for a couple of years, and then we'd sell it, and then we'd go get another one, and it just kind of went from there. So that's kind of how I got into the real estate deal. But I don't know. There necessarily wasn't a plan of we're going to keep this much money out of the company, we're going to put this much to real estate. It just kind of all happened, I guess you could say.
And in the midst of all that, you're also putting money into the market, or did all of that come from when you were working at previous employers?
Uh, None of it was with previous employers. Well, excuse me, not with my previous employers. Anything I had in the market previously, if I left the job and I cashed out, it was not very smart. My wife did have a really good job, and she kept her 401. So part of that money was her 401k.
Have you always invested that in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or index funds?
Yeah, index fund. So originally, when we started investing, we did a lot. We did managed accounts and stocks, stuff like that. And now primarily, we are in index funds. We do have a little bit of risk with some. I'd say it's less than 10% in just stocks. The rest of it's all going to be funds.
Gotcha. So, Mark, at this point, you've sold the business. You're, call it financially free. You got a bunch of paid for real estate, nice cash flow. I mean, where is your head at from the next? I mean, what does that cash flow then turn into? Is it going back into another single family rental? Is it going into, I know you mentioned you got this multifamily deal, but where is your head at now as this kind of snowball has really started to kind of roll down the mountain for you?
So the plan has definitely been to just reinvest the money into more real estate as fast as I can with the speed of cash. I don't think I can do it as fast as I want to do it with the cash. So I'm potentially looking at doing doing a loan now for a multifamily.
Moving at the speed of cash, but I get it. You're an entrepreneur. You want to move a little bit quicker. You're willing to take on a little bit of risk and potentially some debt to do so. Can you kind of walk us through the mindset of like, what does that real estate portfolio look like from a management standpoint? I mean, how many units, how many doors, like how do you think about scaling that now that you've sold business and probably don't want to do the employee thing, it sounds like, again?
Yeah, I mean, if the right opportunity comes along, I definitely do another business, but I'm 40 now. I don't know the next business to get into, I guess. The real estate side I can kind of do by myself. I think after we get 10 plus, which will be at 10 doors real quick here, possibly looking at handing it off to a management company. Again, I definitely cannot scale it as fast as I want to with cash. I mean, And on the real estate side, I'm probably not the best at it, but I kind of got a little bit of a method and a reason or what we try to, and not try to invest in, but the kind of cash flow we want, the percentage we want off what we pay for it, rent, stuff like that. That just seems easier to me than going out and starting another company, I guess you could say. But the multifamily definitely seems like a little better deal the more I look into it recently instead of a single family. So we're going to try to get into a few different things now.
The real estate that you have now and that you've accumulated over, is all of it nearby where you live?
Yeah, within 50 miles. Probably within 40 actually. So yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I was always told if you can't be there in an hour or so, you probably don't want to do it.
So, I mean, you're taking the touch it, feel it to a whole new level. I mean, how many times are you driving by these properties?
Not weekly, but I mean pretty monthly for sure. Driving by, making sure the place is still there, making sure we ain't got tenants parked 20 cars in the front yard, stuff like that.
Is there a target net worth or number of doors that you kind of envision in the future?
So the target net worth for now is 10 million. That's I'm still pretty good ways away, but I think it's very doable pretty fast. I would say within hopefully 5-6 years, I'm hoping. But door wise, no. I mean, we're all over the place with values of doors and how much we're getting for this one for rent for the next one. So we're not necessarily just picking one deal where we want everything 100,000 each at $1,000 a month. We've got stuff kind of all over the place on rents and values, stuff like that. If it's a good deal, I'll buy it, and if it's not, I kind of pass. Or not kind of pass, but pass.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like you got a pretty dialed in formula at this point. So I want to rewind a little bit and go back to, I guess, some of your early days. You get rocking and rolling in your adulthood. I mean, walk us through some of those early years of what you were doing and kind of how you navigated the point of starting your business that you did.
Oh man, I definitely did not know what I was doing. It kind of just happened. Created. I really really liked the trade that I was in, and I think that's why I was so good at it. And I was good with customers, and I actually left that trade for a year before I started the company. And previous customers from the previous employer would still call me all the time, and that's what kind of gave me. And I started having customers, hey, if you come to Houston or you come here, we'll pay you to do whatever it takes to get this thing going. And that's kind of how it happened. Just customers kept calling, and I seen a need for it, and the next thing you knew, we were opening a shop. But there definitely was not no big plan.
So I mean, out of high school, out of college, you started working in this particular trade, or was it a little bit later?
A little later, so I did the no college, some online classes, but nothing to talk about. At 18, went to the military, got out of the military in 3 years, and then pretty much went directly into that trade.
So you honed in your skills, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 years later, you decided to go out on your own, or did you start another business in this trade previous to this?
No, that was the one. Yep, same trade. Yeah, and I mean, I did kind of grow up, not necessarily in the same trade, but dad owned junkyards. Yeah, always been around shops and stuff. Now, if you ask anyone that I grew up with or family wise, if they thought that I would have did what I did, they probably would have 100% said he will never do that. And but it happened anyway.
So you're in your late 20s, you make this jump, you had a year off effectively. I mean, kind of walk us through mentally, psychologically making that leap. And you have that good customer base, but there's always that kind of trigger, right? Of like, hey, I got to go do this. I don't have that biweekly paycheck or whatever it might be. And I got to go make this jump to do X, Y, Z. And hey, what do I charge? And collections and all this stuff that a lot of people don't think about. I mean, you went through, experienced that in your late 20s.
Yeah. So the reason I left the first career was I wanted to work less. Worked a lot of overtime, a lot of weekends, did a lot of travel. I had met my wife at that time, knew I did not want to work as much as I was working and be gone out of town all the time. So that's why I went into the other career for a year. So within that first year, so we got married, started a business, and had a kid. So again, there was not a big plan. My wife was very supportive from the beginning of the business and everything else. I look back at it now and she had to be crazy. Very blessed, very, very blessed. Hard work and common sense is all I can say.
So
Common
talk.
sense.
I was just to say, like, I mean, I totally get it, and it sounds like, I mean, your wife is a gem because she's got you on this plane, got you out of debt, she's got you on this business and the support system that goes along with that. That has probably propelled a lot of what you do. I mean, how are those early years of kind of getting the business off the ground, and what were you kind of thinking as you were kind of trying to grow it, year after year?
So definitely a lot of hours, a lot of weekends, Easter Sunday work, just constant work, 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 not really necessarily a schedule, not a lot of family time, not a lot of vacations. I don't necessarily think I was looking at it as growing the business. I just loved it. I loved what I was doing. I loved the customers. I just really, really enjoyed it. There was never a big plan in my head of we're going to turn this into this and we're going to have 20 employees. And it just kind of all came realistically. I, I just really, really enjoyed it. And I was really good at it, I think, because I enjoyed it. And it just kind of came from there. The customers kept coming, employees kept coming, more team members, and just got bigger and bigger and bigger. We did
That's
some
awesome.
distributorships with bigger vendors where we were distributors for people that came to us. That's kind of when the business took off, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and how many years into it when you would say that it quote unquote took off?
Uh, six, seven, something like that.
Okay.
It took me probably 5 years to really, really get it going. Good momentum, and then once we got in the new facility, the business definitely took off more with a bigger building, nicer facility, better area. That helped out for sure. And then good years in the oil field, bad years in the oil field. So it all kind of depended on the oil field also.
Fast forward to that 10th, 11th, 12th year in business. I mean, are you thinking, hey, yeah, I'm going to sell this thing at this point?
Never. Probably the ninth year is when I really, really started looking, trying to grow the business, trying to scale the business. What am I going to do? Who's going to be, what happens if I'm not here tomorrow? Who's the successor? Started doing a lot of the entree leadership events through the Ramsey deal, Master Series, stuff like that. That definitely gave me more of a plan of what I wanted to do. I was looking more to scale the business than I was to sell the business. And I had two or three potential buyers show up, and didn't one of them we kind of talked for a while. Another one we talked. Third one I really enjoyed him, and I like the company, I like the values, and I ended up doing a deal with him, but was not planning on it by no means.
Wow, what a journey and what a success story, man. Congrats to you and your team and your wife. I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, so from
Thank you.
scratch to 5 years of growth to 6 years, 7th year scaling to, hey, 9 years, I'm in, let's grow this thing to, you know what? Like, I'm selling this thing all of a sudden and, take some chips off the table. That's awesome. During that period of time of kind of the start, the growth, the scale, I mean, any major lessons that you would pinpoint or turning points that you would kind of say, hey, that was such a key thing. Like, I met that person, they changed my mindset about how I was doing this in my business or whatever that kind of led to some of your successes?
I definitely seen other business owners that were definitely way, way more successful than me, watching them scale a business, then watching them sell a business, watching them go buy another one, do the same thing over and over. I definitely got a lot of pointers from that. But that was probably a big part of it, just seeing other people do it. I didn't necessarily have any excuse me. I had one really, really great mentor that was way older than me that passed a few years back. And he helped me out a lot. He ran a lot of the gray area, I guess you could say. So I learned a lot of things from him also. But I learned a lot from him. But good people. That was the biggest thing. That we had very, very good company culture, and we still do. Great team. We at one point we hired a really, really good sales guy. He brought in a lot of business. it just seemed like we kept bringing good people in, and every time we brought somebody in, if they were good, they brought customers with them, they brought vendors with them, and it went from there. It's all about the team, I guess.
That's awesome. Were there anything classes or things you took on how to, or books you read on, how to build that culture, or was that just kind of a touch and feel with the way the mark operates?
Not necessarily books on the culture side. I mean, I definitely read a lot of books and stuff like that, but I think the culture side of it was we treated everybody like family, and everybody if it was a bad apple, we weeded them out pretty quick. We didn't let anybody stay bad. One toxic person can ruin the whole deal. So I think that was a big part of it. Is we were a close team, and we just didn't let anybody else in that didn't deserve to be there necessarily.
Awesome. Well, congrats, man. I commend you, and I'm
Well,
sure
thank
it's
you.
been quite the journey, over the last decade plus to go through all the emotions of everything. Is there anything emotionally that helped you prepare to kind of make that transition? That I get this question a lot from a lot of business owners that come on the show, or that I talk to offline, or that email us, and I've done some of it myself, and granted, I'm younger than a lot of them, but I get the emotional side of M&A and owning a business to not owning a business to scaling a business to, hey, how big do I really want this to grow? If it puts strains on my time, and it can go on and on. But anything that you would suggest emotionally to help prepare for those kinds of things?
So I read not every merger and acquisitions book, but anything that I could find that had examples of owners selling and what they did afterwards and how they felt, and this guy failed and this guy succeeded. I read everything I could find. I didn't find anything that was really, really great. One book maybe that it was actually from a financial advisor, where he had like 20 or 30 different clients that had sold businesses, and he told their story after the businesses were sold. And so many people lost everything after the businesses were sold. It was pretty crazy. But emotionally, I definitely did not prepare for what was coming. It took me a few months. I think it took a few months for it to really set in that, hey, this isn't yours anymore. So emotionally, I don't know what to tell anybody selling. I think if you bought the business and sold the business, it's probably not as bad. But if you started it from the ground up, it's like your kid. It's like one of your kids, not your kid, but it's like one of your kids, and it was definitely hard. And it's definitely different not owning it today still, and still seeing it. But I don't have any real good advice of what someone should do or shouldn't do, but definitely read and talk to as many previous owners as you can. And that is another thing that I did. I had a couple other people that I knew that had bought and sold some companies, and I talked to them, but still didn't prepare me for what was coming.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like that. It's one of those things that until you kind of experience it and kind of know how you respond. And quite frankly, most people may only experience it maybe once or twice, maybe three times or
Yep.
whatever in their lifetime, if that. It sometimes can be a one and done type of thing. But appreciate you sharing those thoughts. So 10 million's the mark that you're looking towards. I mean, do you have a lens beyond that? Because, I mean, it seems like, the pace you're going, I mean, you hit that in the next couple of years, if that?
I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know that I would hit it. I mean, I guess it all depends on the market and real estate, how everything goes here. I definitely want to be way over 10 million in another 10, 15 years, but 10 million is definitely the goal for right now. That's the starting point. I don't necessarily know the end goal, but I figured 10 million was a good stepping stone for the next one.
Okay. Is there anything that, you've drastically shifted as you've kind of made this transition and went heavy on real estate, as it relates to your investment mindset or just your asset allocation in general, of getting away from that big asset in a business to more real estate market? I mean, would you ever pull anything out of the market? Would you ever put it into real estate only? Or is it, hey, I've got this segmented pretty good, I'm going to leave it as is?
So I don't think I would pull out of the market. The only way I would probably pull out of the market is if I go borrow money and I don't like owing somebody money. That would probably be the only way that I would just pull out and pay a whole bunch of money to something. to just sell because the market's going down or something like that. Never do that. So no, I definitely would not go that route. Whatever's in the market's there for long-term investments. And again, the only way I would pull it, I think, is if it was a have-to kind of situation, or just took some debt and I didn't like the debt and needed to get rid of the debt. But no, I don't think we don't plan on selling anything in the market. Anything there is for 59 plus 60 years old retirement.
Gotcha. So you mentioned your wife brought the Dave Ramsey Get Out of Debt program to you a few years before you sold the business. Had she been kind of on that program and you had been resistant, or was it more of, hey, I think that's cool what you're doing, but I'm not totally bought in yet?
No, I mean, she definitely wasn't on the program yet, but she started before me. She started listening to it. I think she realized, like, oh man, we're making way too much money to not have a financial advisor, to not be saving, to not have 401k. Well, yeah, we had 401ks at the time, but not have, IRAs and stuff like that. So, again, she's very intelligent, and she persuaded me, little by little, one podcast at a time, 10 minutes at a time, probably. Because I definitely didn't just jump on board, but the more I listened to it, the more I liked it, and the more I believed in it, and it does work.
How did she get into that kind of, mindset and getting bought into that? Was that something she came into the marriage with and it just took time, or did she have, a class or come across it at some point later in your marriage?
I'm pretty sure she just came across it some point later in the marriage. I would assume she's seen it on some sort of social media. I'm not on any social media or anything, so I didn't even know who Dave Ramsey was when she told me who it was about him. I believe they did a financial piece at our church at one point. I had seen the bald guy, and that was it. Seen him on a sign. Uh, I'm pretty sure she's seen it somewhere. I don't necessarily. Oh, you know what? I do know where she got it from. I believe it was a coworker of hers. There was a gentleman she worked with, older than us, very successful. I won't say his name, but I do remember that, and I'm pretty sure. I would bet that's where she kind of got on that train. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you two are quite the pair, and she did quite the sales job to get you on board over time on that program, because it sounds like you're pretty bought in, owning a bunch of real estate cash. Good for you. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire questions. What's the most expensive pair of shoes that you purchased?
$400 boots. We're in Texas, so
Yeah, it's a must. For 400 might be cheap depending on where you are, where you're
yeah,
shopping.
400 or 500, yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. What about the most expensive meal out that you paid for?
$800.
Do you remember which one?
Yeah, there was an anniversary dinner, and then there was a dinner with just me and my wife when the company was sold, where there was definitely some wine involved to get to $800. And
Okay.
Vic and
Cool.
Anthony's, I believe, was what it was.
All right. Nice. So you did do a little celebratory kind of victory lap when you sold the company?
Yes. No big vacation yet, but we did have an $800 dinner.
Okay. All right. Nice. What about the most expensive vacation or experience?
Oh man, so we did a lot of Disney, a lot of Universal. We like going to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We do a lot of local trips, I guess you could say, but we have not. I think the biggest trip we've actually done is Jamaica, and that wasn't nothing crazy, crazy. So Disney's probably the most expensive trip we've taken, but we've definitely got plans for some other stuff.
Yeah, Mickey seems to put zeros on things nowadays. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how that magic guy does it, but he does, doesn't he?
At this point, we are Universal fans. We got the kids talked into Universal only from now on, so we'll see.
Which ones are you looking forward to the most?
Vacation wise,
Yeah, that's on the
so
list.
we talked. Yeah, so me and my wife talked about this the other day on our goal list, and she definitely wants to go to Europe, and I would like to go to Argentina to go dove hunting. So those are kind of on the bucket list as of now. She would probably
Nice.
like to go all over the place.
Hey, when you're at your stage, you probably can. It's just a matter of when you find the time and making the time to do
Yeah,
so, right?
that's it. Time.
Yep,
Can't buy time.
cannot. What's the dumbest thing you've ever wasted money on?
I want to say crypto at this point. I don't know.
Heck, crypto
Probably
right now is like on a tear. It's insane.
Yeah, I still
what it's doing.
I still have a long ways to go to break even. I still have it. Bought into not knowing what I was buying. I didn't understand what I was buying. So that was probably the dumb part of the crypto. There was probably certain cryptocurrencies that would have been a better buy than what I bought. But
Gotcha.
stupidest thing I've spent money on, man, we bought so many motorcycles and cars and just all kinds of stuff. I don't know what the dumbest thing is, though, off the top of the head.
All right. What's something that you've spent way too much money on, but you don't regret it?
House. We spent a lot of money on a house. Well, at the time, we bought way more house than we needed, and we spent way more money than we probably should have spent on the house back in the day. And now, obviously, it's paid for, and we love it. So I'm glad we did it.
Awesome. What financial habit has changed the most since you became a millionaire?
Oh man, trying to keep it, and they say it's easy to make it and harder to keep it. So at this point, I'm at that stage where I'm trying to really make sure I don't do anything really stupid to lose a whole bunch of money, because I don't have that source to just go out and make it the way that I had before.
That's fair. What's a key lesson that you learned from childhood?
I'm gonna go back to hard work and common sense. My mom and dad both very hard workers. Made a lot out of nothing. I remember at times. I remember seeing my dad eat lunch out of $10 out of a change dish. So very live within your means. If you can't afford it, don't buy it.
Awesome. What's the most fun that you've had with money?
Man, we did a lot of things. Hunting, trips. Definitely, best thing is probably giving, tithing,
Okay.
Church, stuff like that. Much other. It's we like giving it away also.
That's awesome. What's a closely held belief that you once had that you recently changed your mind on?
People change. Back in the day, I never thought, that someone could change, be a better person. And now I'm a firm believer that people can change. People can do better if they want to, and people can transform.
Awesome. Any last pieces of advice for somebody who's just starting out on their journey?
Invest early. Don't cash out. Read, listen to podcasts. All the information's out there. People do not take advantage of what's out there today. I'm nothing special. Nope, not very well educated, anything like that. Hang out with good people, do the right thing. That's about it. Go to church, have values, live by your morals.
Are there any particular resources or books or things that have been helpful in your journey from a learning standpoint?
I definitely like the Dave Ramsey books. I enjoy a lot of the people that are on his team. Dr. John Deloney, really good with anxiety and stuff like that. Ken Coleman on the career side. James Clear, The Atomic Habits, really enjoyed that book. I got a lot of that. Mike Matthews is a fitness guy that I listen to and read his books. Really enjoy him also.
Awesome. That's Mark with a net worth of $6+ million. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Jace.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast with Jace Mattinson. For more stories, investment opportunities, and information, check out our website, millionairesunveiled.com. See you next time when you'll hear from another everyday millionaire.